Chad, does that mean, are we recording? Is it going now?
We're good?
This is the podcast.
Yeah, we're good. We're ready. We got the
Okay,
thumbs up from Chad.
What's going on with Chad?
We've got the thumbs up from Chad. We're good to go.
Okay, so we're cooking. It's just started to rain here, and the really ambitious idea of having an indoor-outdoor podcast, Josh being indoor, Biko's being outdoors, is showing its first troubles. It's not raining in the control room, though, is it, buddy?
No, not that I'm aware of, although you never know. These ceiling tiles, they could always start leaking or something like that. You never know how good the plumbing is in an old stadium like this.
Yeah, 1926, Grayson Stadium was created. Thank you, everybody who is listening to the first episode of the Rain Delay podcast, and it is raining, so it's actually pretty apropos. But it's such a slight sprinkle. I can probably only count about 20 to 50 drops of rain on my laptop, and I think Big Bertha here is going to be able to survive it. Josh, why did we want to start a podcast, buddy? Why are we doing this?
You know, I think it's one of those things where you reach the off season, you're not broadcasting games anymore, and let's face it, man, we've got things we want to talk about, and I just don't think that we can spend this time apart from each other is the real problem.
No, and we talk on the phone just about every week, and we update each other on our lives and work and this and that. But it's different when other people aren't listening to us. We yearn to be listened to, guys like us, the guys who desire to be in front of the camera and on the mic. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff we'd love to talk about. When it comes to this podcast, the Rain Delay podcast, by the way, that's Josh Talevski is the other voice. This is Biko Skalla. I'm the play-by-play voice of the Bananas. If anybody stumbles across this podcast and doesn't know who we are, Josh is the statistical savant of the Savannah Bananas as well. And, you know, when we do our broadcasts, it's I'm the play-by-play guy, you're the color commentary. There's like kind of roles we fall into there, but now we're in a new medium. It's like, who's the host? Who should be the host of this podcast? Everyone's wondering.
There are no rules. If anything, I think we default to Chad being the host of the podcast. Actually, I think that's the fairest option here.
I don't think you guys want that. This is just going to become me talking about the movies that I watched and the video games that I played.
So there's Chad Reese, the coordinating producer of Bananas Television, as well as the coordinating producer of the Rain Delay podcast. He is not being paid for his work here, although once we get millions and millions of listeners, maybe Josh and I will pass a couple shekels over to him. Chad, thank you for all your work and everything that you do in our lives. I am in the spot for anybody who listened to Bananas Unpeeled back in the day with Biko and Barry Aldridge as they speak in third person. This is where I recorded actually the lion's share of Bananas Unpeeled podcast. You got this big device here. I think heats or cools the house. I'm not sure which. That's an old septic tank over there. We got the wood pile to my left. There's just something unique about podcasting outdoors. I know it's something you haven't experienced in life, Josh, but maybe try it out one time.
Yeah, not particularly. Does this feel like a full circle moment at all for you right now?
Very much so. Very much so. You and Barry Aldridge, I feel like you could have similar vibes on the mic. I feel like you have similar wit. Just a couple baseball guys slapping a mic on and having some fun. So yeah, this is pretty full circle. It's fun. I tried to do it on the front porch, which was much more picturesque, but it's got a Wi-Fi extender out there, and according to our coordinating producer, Chad, it just was not up to snuff. So I think now it's good to tell people what to expect from this podcast. I mean, obviously, we're both employed by Fans First Entertainment and the Savannah Bananas, so there will be a lot of Bananas content, but there are other things that Josh and I want to talk about in the world, and I would like to work, I'm going to call this work, in a sweatshirt like I'm doing today. And if you're watching on the Rain Delay Podcast YouTube, you can see I just put my hood up. That feels pretty neat to me, to be on a mic, but also be kind of casual, you know?
Yeah, I don't typically get to go on air in my like regular Josh clothes, so right now, and I'm giving this to the people for free, I've got on this golf pullover sweatshirt. I've got on some nice blue jeans, my classic pair of Reeboks. So that's kind of the November 1st fit for me. By the way, happy November 1st. I hope you had a great Halloween, Biko.
Yes, and I will send that to all of our listeners and viewers online as well. Is this your first podcast ever? Have you podcasted before? Because I have done probably over 100, so I'm a seasoned vet. I pretty much know what I'm doing at this point.
I wouldn't say I've done a ton. I've done it sparingly though.
Have you hosted or have you just been a guest on other folks'
No,
podcasts?
I have never hosted my own in my life. So this is pretty new territory, but I'm telling you, I feel right at home. We just do this all the time in a sense.
Yeah, it's just the guys chatting it up. So I think that's a big theme of this podcast, right? It's like a little bit of a window into the Biko, Josh, and Chad relationship here. And naturally, Chad is coordinating, producing the podcast, so this just completely makes sense. And what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. So that's going to be a big part of it. Obviously, as we work in Bananaland, we'll be updating you on things that are happening in Savannah. And most of the world hasn't heard from me since October 5th when we did the 2024 World Tour draft. So I figure it's a good time to update folks on what I've been up to. Just doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, helping out our marketing kings, Zach Bro and Chris Sacchi, the Italian rapscallion, with a whole lot of work they're doing. Then I'm up in Jersey City a lot. Currently, I'm in upstate New York on the high school home here on Glenary Farm. Follow them on Instagram. You got a lot of great pics there if you like looking at animals and flowers. And I'm getting a little R&R, a nice little housewarming party a couple weekends ago. I've purchased a basketball and a soccer ball, so I'm kind of leaning into being an active man in sports in this offseason. I've actually worked out. I've probably worked out since the draft more times in total than I did since I graduated high school back in 2015 up until the World Tour draft. So I'm kind of like turning a corner. I think I'm growing up as I approach 27 years old. Josh, what have you been up to since we were last on Bananas Airwaves?
Well, I can tell you, I probably have not been working out as much as you have. And while I'm not
Naturally.
playing basketball, I've been getting into a little more tennis. Believe it or not, we
Yeah.
got a nice little tennis club going around the office. And
Oh, no way.
yeah, it's awesome, dude. I'm telling you, as much as I love playing, and we've had some pretty great doubles matches, I just live for like the time when somebody's like, "Hey, let's play a singles match 1-on-1." I feel those competitive juices flowing again, and it's
Oh, Ivana.
it's a pretty riveting
Nice.
feeling. And by the way,
Oh,
your host mom Paula, she's happy to hear that I'm playing tennis as well, being the tennis fanatic that she is.
correct. Oh, yeah, she competed in the Georgia State tournament recently. I think I missed it being up in New York. Did you get any reports on that? How our good friend Paula Berman did in the Georgia State tennis tournament?
So I know the first day I think got canceled due to
Next.
some weather, but
Yeah.
at the time when it got canceled, they were in first place.
Of course they were.
So that's pretty sweet. And after that, I think they might have finished fourth or something. I don't think that it was the outcome that they were necessarily looking for, though.
I got to give Paula a ring and offer my condolences to her state championship hopes when it comes to the tennis there. Yeah, so I've played with. Oh my gosh, Biko, cut that. Shout out the Always Sunny pod. I have played tennis with Paula and her friends in the age group around that she is in, which, if you ask her, it's probably about 50 or so, we'll say. And it's riveting. And then I've played a decent amount of tennis recently against Lauren, which is also some good battles. She actually played a little tennis in high school, but I yearn for a really great tennis match. Would I find that with you, Mr. Talevski?
I would love to play you in tennis. Although, you've beaten me in Wii Sports baseball before. You've beaten me in some Wii Sports tennis, I believe, too. But when we get down to brass tacks and play the real deal, you're mine. Like, you're done for.
Oh, yeah, right, bro. I'm pretty gnarly at tennis.
Yeah, I don't buy it one bit.
Well, I'm athletic. I'm a freak of nature. My body is a temple, as I've said. I've actually started lifting weights recently for the first time since my athletic prime. That was high school. I'm not an extreme power hitter when it comes to tennis, but boy, is it tough to get a ball by me. You're gonna beat yourself before I beat you, but it's tough to beat me.
Hey, I think we are of the same mindset. I'm a minimize mistakes person out there on the court. I'm not necessarily trying to use too much finesse, but let me tell you, man, it's not about how much you're pumping in the gym. It's just about good cardio.
Yeah, that's a fact. I feel pretty good about what's going on the inside as well, although the outside definitely doesn't tell the whole story with me. Is there anybody in the office who I really need to look out for when it comes to the tennis courts, or are you the top dog right now?
Tough to say. Ian Schrift has given me some unbelievable matches on the
See that?
court. And
Yeah.
what you might not know is that the father of Chris Sachi, who you already mentioned on this podcast, actually
Yeah.
used to be a tennis instructor for the youth of Ocean City and the surrounding areas, which is pretty crazy.
So Sachi's got some developed techniques here on the courts.
Yeah, and Sachi's not afraid to share some of the wisdom that his dad imparted on him, such as, you hold the racket like you shake a man's hand.
Oh, so well, it depends on who you ask. That's a very subjective thing there. Some people have firm grips. Some people like going loosey goosey. What does that even mean?
I Look, don't ask me. I never taught tennis.
Guys, I gotta ask Mr. Sachi. I need a little clarifications there. So, what have you been doing? I mean, as I've been keeping track of Banana's social media, as one does who works for the company and loves the content that we create, I really enjoyed the breakdown of the foul ball catch into the bag of popcorn, which I didn't even know happened at the time. I didn't know until we were talking about it as content that we wanted to create. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I know Yvonne had a big hand in editing that whole thing. That was an absolute delight. And then, the golden batter rule was a very fun breakdown as well.
Yeah, we're obviously experimenting with some new content right now around Bananaland, so looking to do a couple more breakdowns and things of that nature, especially with the launch of the Banana Ball channel. Like, obviously, we're trying to grow the game, and I think one of the ways that we see we can do that and further legitimize all the things that are going on with the bananas, the party animals, and, the firefighters in the near future, it's having these breakdowns and being able to look back and analyze not only how crazy everything that's going on is, but just how awesome and talented all of these guys are at the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do some really bad podcasting. I wanted to mention how hilarious the podcasting was when you were talking about your shirt, which there's a video component here, so the people on YouTube will understand what's happening. Both of our cameras are insanely lopsided. I don't know how, but mine makes sense because my laptop's perched on a little mini roof on top of a generator here. Why is your laptop also so askew?
I'm not sure it is, but I'm leaned back in this kind of rolly chair, and that might be what's deceiving you.
No, because you're straight. You're looking good. If you look at the crossing of the bricks or the cinder blocks behind you, you can see them going up. But anyway, this makes no sense, and there's no reason to actually bring it up. It's just the way my mind wanders when I get into Biko podcasting mode. When you talk about more things that are happening in Bananaland, there is a show, season 2 of Bananaland, The Road to Cooperstown. You got to throw after the apostrophe there, which have 4 episodes in the books today, which I think the podcast is going to come out on Thursday. So technically yesterday, episode 5 comes out. So Josh and I have not seen it yet. But through 4 episodes, personally, been an absolute delight to be a fly on the wall in all kinds of moments that I had not seen and experienced, the most of which being the creation of the Showdown Chase, which was fascinating to see the coaches and Jesse go through all of that. What have you enjoyed about season 2 of Bananaland here?
Just to piggyback off of the Showdown Chase thing, I really enjoyed that because I had no idea that it kind of happened, I think, that close to the 2023 tour kicking off. And in a sense, we watched all the guys in that room throw out the ideas, and you just saw how they kind of nitpicked it and eventually perfected it to the way they wanted it to be. And so, in a sense, it's like watching a great band write a song. They start with a set of lyrics, but eventually they narrow it down to the right lyrics for the song. That's exactly what the Showdown Chase was like to me. Reliving tryouts was very cool because I essentially missed everything leading up to the 2023 tour until I jumped on the bus to go to West Palm Beach for opening weekend. But I did find a way to make it to the tryouts in mid to late November, and getting to see the Vinny DeRubius home run again, Jake Lialios dancing on the mound as Pitbull, and some of the other wacky hijinks that were going on during that day was amazing.
Yeah, I think my favorite part, and I'm sure for folks who don't work for the company, a whole lot of it is being a fly on the wall and seeing things they hadn't seen before. But it's surprising for me how much of that is actually the case. And for the tryout, we were both there. It was on November 19th, my birthday of last year. And we actually ended up holding down the banana stand. There's always money in the banana stand. We held down the banana stand because I don't remember why, but someone didn't show up for this and that, and all of a sudden you were slinging shirts and running cards, and Chad and I were mostly in there, I think, as emotional support. I think you kind of dominated the whole thing, but that also led to us not experiencing the entirety of the tryout, which was pretty cool. And then Evo Shield Day was another thing. I think I was up north for that, so it was pretty special to see the guys all fired up about all the new gear they were getting.
I'd love to give my perspective on this moment as well.
Chad!
Because not only was I in the merch stand with Josh for a good while, we had a great connection that day. I honestly feel closer to Josh Talevski than I ever have. During the actual tryout was also the same day that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, and I was supposed to be up in the press box filming a tryout so that the coaches could watch it later. And I was up there, and I wanted nothing more than to play that game. So I was in the press box, switching cameras while also playing that game, and I was mostly focused. I was mostly focused on Pokemon, I'll be honest. So I didn't really experience a ton of it either until I got to see that episode.
Yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and I mean, these things take priorities, and I appreciate you admitting that, Chad. You're a very big person for that. And I'm sure you achieved much in the virtual world as you're also working on your day job. And I never heard any complaints about the camera switching for the broadcast.
Now, Chad, remind me, were you out, because we went out for Biko's birthday that day after the tryouts. Were you out with us that night, or did you decide to play Pokemon instead?
Oh, my microphone is not unmuting. There it is. I honestly don't remember. I don't think I went out unless we went to social or something. What we normally do. I don't think I was there. Was there anything that happened that could rattle my brain a little bit?
Nothing stands out other than really just celebrating because birthday. Lauren was in town and everything, and I only remember being at Social Club, to be honest with you.
I also only remember Social Club as well. Yeah, so TBD. We'll go back and take a look through whatever media we have to figure out if Chad abandoned me for the new Pokemon games or not. This will definitely have a serious impact on our relationship one way or the other. To close down on Bananaland here, Ivan Trezak has been an early star of the show, especially episode 4 when we had the Greatest Showman shoot. But even before that, I mean, you realize how important he is behind the scene. And in the earlier episodes, I think especially episode 2, Caitlin Scott just absolutely dominating with camera time. I mean, the great people at Rumor, David, Michael, Suki, Jeff, all of them, and everybody else who helps out with that, Christina, like the list goes on and on. They do an amazing job, understandably so, enamored with Caitlin Scott and the bizarre human being that she is.
Yeah, I mean, she's always got the quirky quips and interesting fun facts, hence why we've used her countless times on BTV to give us updates on what a drop bear is and whatnot.
Right.
And let's face it, I mean, you take Yvonne or Caitlin out of the video or creative team, and they've got a bright future being correspondents for BTV, if you ask me.
Couldn't agree more. Yvonne hates being in front of the camera, abhors it. You know, we love the Rumor people, as I just mentioned, hated having those cameras in our faces all the time, unlike the likes of myself and Zach Frangelo, who are just trying to weasel our ways into the background of shots and see if we can get half of our face into any piece of video that's being created. But yeah, I mean, he's got the talent, you know, he just doesn't have the drive. But boy, oh boy, is he amazing on the other side of the camera. So I think we've cleaned up pretty good what's happening on the banana side of things. I mean, except I did not mention, boy, oh boy, this will be some breaking news about a half hour into the podcast. Josh has been going back and rescoring every banana ball game before the 2023 tour, as well as before the summer series in 2022. And you have been uncovering incredible tidbits about our young sport.
I'll preface this all by just saying we're making really good work here. We're on to Kansas City, believe it or not, rescoring the Bananas Monarchs original Challenger Series. which
Right.
is very cool. But look, the gods of Banana Ball are whispering the names of Xavier Lindsay and Nick Clarno, because little did we know that back in 2021 when the Bananas played the Catawba Valley Stars in a game of Banana Ball, mind you, Nick Clarno
Right.
had the first trick play of all time. Glove is in his mouth. He barehands the ball, flips it on to... No, he takes it to first base himself and records a trick play. And meanwhile, Xavier Lindsay comes in for the Stars and throws a 1 minute and 27-second inning. And it was the fastest of all time in Banana Ball, and I don't think anybody had any idea that that was the case. Which, by the way, he is still tied with Jeremy Guthrie for the fastest MPI of all time by a guest pitcher.
Xavier Lindsay. Xavier Lindsay. I mean, a name that will go down in the Banana Ball history books. In fact, has gone down in the Banana Ball history books. Brett Helton tied that mark in the opener in West Palm Beach on the 2023 tour, which at that point we thought was the record, because when Xavier Lindsay threw his a minute 27-second inning, MPI didn't exist. Jesse Cole didn't have the brilliant idea that a really important facet of our young sport would be timing pitchers' innings to incentivize how quickly they can work. So yeah, we thought Brett Helton had set the record. It turns out he had actually tied the record. And then when you go to Nick Clarno, who's currently a minor league baseball player in your Atlanta Braves organization, he gets the first trick play of all time. But because you're doing everything in chronological order, or actually, that's not. Yes, I go back. No. Yes.
I've been scoring the games in order.
Yes, that is why you thought Kyle Lewigs had the first trick play in Banana Ball history, which, by the way, if you've watched any of the broadcasts, you know that Ryan Cox had been credited with the first trick play ever. That was in Columbus, Georgia, in Golden Park on the 2022 tour, the 11th out of the 12 battles between the Nanners and Party Animals. It turns out earlier on that very tour, Kyle Lewigs bounced a ball to first base. And for a little bit before you got to Nick Clarno and the Catawba Valley Stars Banana Ball game, Kyle Lewigs, Cowboy Kyle, our dear friend, held the first trick play of all time. But it turns out he has the second.
Yeah, it was a discussion we had, and then I brought up the fact that Kyle had the first trick play. And believe it or not, it was Zach Frangelo who said, no, Nick Clarno actually did it against the Catawba Valley Stars. I had glossed over it, watched it back, and realized, oh my gosh, Nick did it. And the funny story is, Zach told me that Jesse Cole was furious about the trick play because at the time he wanted the game to be taken very seriously and looked at from a legitimate standpoint. And I feel that it is nonetheless, even though we've had over 600 trick plays across a 87, or really 84 game 2023 tour. And Nick does this trick play. Jesse tells him he's not taking the game seriously. And boy, they hated him because they did not understand his ways.
He was way ahead of his time. And I talked to Clarno after you let me know and reminded me that this happened, because if you go back and watch that game, which I don't think you actually can, it's in like the Facebook archives. You need admin access to the Bananas Facebook to even see such a thing, because it was on Bananas Insiders back in the crazy CPL days. But Clarno had like 5 absolutely bonkers plays over at first base, or at least, was just his antics were really well ahead of his time. And I reached out to him, and he also remembered Jesse being quite unhappy with the way he was playing Banana Ball. But truly, the way he played that game would be really celebrated, and he would be a sought-after player in Banana Ball here. And we hope that he goes on to have a very long and successful Major League Baseball career. But I can promise you that Banana Ball will always be a home for Clarno if he ever leaves the affiliated leagues.
I think that when the Banana Ball Museum is built at some point, there will be a bronze statue right outside the gates, and Nick Clarno will be in bronze doing the first trick play in Banana Ball history.
With a glove in his mouth, barehanding a ground ball. And he ran off the field, if I remember correctly, with the glove still in his mouth. Yeah, he was built for Banana Ball. What a talent right there. So that is very fun. You're uncovering many tidbits, just like the 2 that we unveiled right there. You're learning so much about the history of guys like Ryan Patterson on the original Party Animals squad on the One City World Tour, Jacob Teston and Kevin Hickey, Mr. Bow on Hands. his teammates and Testin being loony. There's been some insane characters and some really incredible runs if you go to the 2022 tour, and how a guy like Chris Quitzer, who has now played for Team Spain in the World Baseball Classic and is still playing in independent professional ball, finished like, I'm just gonna throw something out there, like 7 for his last 8 with about 5 extra base hits. There's a lot of stuff you're uncovering.
He's actually, yes, he finished the tour on an insane run and capped it off with an inside the park home run in Rickwood Field.
I forgot about that.
It's amazing. By the way, shout out Myron Meebade. You have always told the tale of how good he was during the 2021 World Tour. Yeah, he was legit.
Yeah, Tallahassee Community College guy, played under Corey Pye, and then was like the Manny Machado of banana ball. I mean, just played so smoothly and so slowly. I mean, just never trying to take an extra base, but boy, oh boy, could he get the barrel to the ball and led that first World Tour in batting average. So, yeah, thank you very much for going back in time. We're learning so much about banana ball, even though I lived it and broadcasted every one of those games. I was in charge of the stats and did a less than adequate job while trying to balance that with play-by-play work. Boy, oh boy, it's amazing. It warms my heart, and I know you're enjoying it as well because it's a pretty wild journey.
I see it as I'm brushing up on my history of the sport and how it's evolved over time. And just to give you a little bit of some credit here, I mean, I don't think that at the time when you were keeping all the stats and everything that we realized just how in-depth all the numbers would eventually be. And so now we're at the point where we've got so much data from a 2023 tour that we're looking to have that same amount across every single game that's ever been played.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, and this is a question for Chad, and it might not be answerable now. So far, currently, I have goats screaming behind me. We've got about 25 goats on the farm, and when they want to talk to each other, it's a curdling scream. We also had a train roll through here. It honks its horn, or it's what does a train have? A whistle?
Yes.
It's an odd whistle. Yeah, it's not a horn. It blew its whistle probably about 5 times, as it does while it's passing by the farm for no apparent reason. And then we had a helicopter go by. So it's just sound effect heaven over here. I thought you had a soundboard, Josh. Are you going to insert any sound into this podcast that you have here as far as sound effects go?
Yeah, you like that one?
I loved it.
I totally blew that though, because I was looking to actually do one of these.
There.
And instead I did the
effect.
I did the want wah sound, so
yeah, it's a wind down and not a pump up. That's okay. This is your first podcast as a host, so
right.
You know you're getting there, buddy.
You're
as well
bound
as sound
to fail a little bit.
Correct. So we I think now we've crossed all of our T's and dotted all of our I's when it comes to bananas related things going on in our life over the past month. I would love to dive into our personal lives because that's why everybody came here. This is November 1st when we're recording. It'll be November 2nd when it goes out to the world. So we just experienced Halloween, and I heard from a little birdie that you had a very eventful Halloween party at Savannah Alanise's house this past weekend.
Yeah, this was the 2nd or 3rd annual Booze and Brews. I believe that is the title of the party. It's either Booze and Brews or Brews and Booze, but I really don't want Savannah Alanise to come after me with any kind of legal action. So I'll just apologize up front. I'm sorry, Savannah.
Sure.
Look, but all I can say is that the party was a smashing success. It was a great time. It was mainly an office party, I think, like you'd expect, but there were some really good costumes. In fact, Scooby-Doo and his gang all made an appearance.
Who was Scooby-Doo and who was Scooby's gang?
Let's see. Melissa Beal was Scooby-Doo, the talking dog.
Makes sense.
And I don't know if this comes as any sort of surprise. This is 3 Chris Sachi mentions. Chris Sachi was Shaggy.
Yeah, it's typecasting right there.
Yeah, it's the role that he was pretty much built for.
I think so.
Amelia and Olivia split Daphne and Velma duties. So Amelia was Daphne and Olivia was Velma.
Makes sense to me.
And then Fred was Ian Shrift.
Oh, he's got some good Fred to him. I don't know if he has the height, and that's not a shot at him. I think he's somewhere in the 5'8" vicinity that I reside in. But I think comparatively, in general, that's a pretty below average in the height department group. So he might have actually been able to pull it off because of the rest of Scooby's crew.
Yeah, and what I can't forget as well is that Caitlin Scott was the ghost of one of the original Scooby-Doo villains, like from the 60s and 70s. It's the ghost of like Captain Cutler or something like that.
You got it right on the nose, Josh. It's Captain Cutler.
Yeah, he looks like a scary underwater scuba diver guy.
I'm guessing there's pictures on Instagram. I do a horrible job. This is anybody who knows me. I do a very bad job of keeping up with anything social media wise outside of Twitter for the most part. So I've got to do some scrolling on Instagram and see this for myself because it sounds like a smash hit as you described it.
Yeah, I promise you, knowing the folks around here, like you open up the old Instagram app, you're going to see all the pictures of Scooby-Doo and his gang and maybe of a couple other of the costumes out there.
Yeah, well, my former podcast host, Mr. Barry Aldridge, who is the puppeteer of just about every Banana Ball team that has ever been founded, he says you learn a lot about people through Instagram, especially the stories. And I have not. Every time that I hang out with him, and he reminds me of this about the knowledge he has gleaned and all he has learned from watching Instagram stories every day. I continue to not heed his advice, but one day I'll watch some stories. I watch my fiance stories if I get a chance, but that's about it.
I'll tell you what, buddy. You learn a lot of things from the Instagram stories these days.
Recently, you learn a lot of things. It sounds like you're saying.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh gosh. Okay. Did the Instagram stories that you've recently seen and learned so much from have any effect on your experience at this party?
It's just events that transpired across the same weekend, I would say. You know?
Causation, correlation, we can't tell. So did you enjoy yourself? It sounds like you did.
Yeah, I had a great time. I showed up. Everybody was, of course, in their costumes. I went as Mike Lindell, the My Pillow salesman, which I did not know until Yvonne Trezak spoke to me that this was a man of somewhat controversial. You know, he's somewhat of a topical guy.
Now, I know you don't delve into the world of politics too much, but I am still absolutely astonished that you did not know what Mike Lindell's been up to over the past 6+ years, I'm going to say. I mean, he's been unavoidable for me.
I had absolutely no idea. And to be honest, that's my bad. I was just looking for costume ideas with clothes that I have. I'm a minimalist when it comes to Halloween. I like using costumes with clothes I already own instead of spending $70 on something I'm only going to use one time. And I was looking for like niche cultural references and was like, oh, I could be like an infomercial guy, but like Billy Mays didn't really work for me. But I came across I came across Mike Lindell and was like, oh, that'll work.
You made a serious political statement by dressing up as Mike Lindell. I mean, you put your foot down in the sand and you said, this is what I believe in. And this is somebody who I lionize so much that I would like to pretend to be them for a night.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I made a blind political statement, I would say.
Correct. This is like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. Like Larry would dress up as Mike Lindell and then end up getting in a huge fight over it because he had no idea about the strong political affiliations and claims that this person has made.
I really just wanted to show up to a party with my pillow and make a bunch of jokes.
Right. Which I'm sure you did and you were able to accomplish. And I'm sure you were not crucified for dressing up as Mike Lindell here.
No, it didn't really feel like it. So, you know, a lot of people, to be honest, got a good laugh out of it. Kyle and Kara, two folks, in fact. And, you know, it was an overall great night. Salsa, Becca's dog, Savannah Alanis' roommate, was actually dressed as a chip, so it was pretty meta, I would say.
That's funny. That's very funny. I love Salsa. Salsa loves me, if you know what I mean.
Salsa loves everyone.
Yeah, well, so that's for sure, especially the fellas. Okay, sweet. Now, I just have to get this out there. I did chat with our dear friend Cowboy Kyle, who continues to be brought up on this pilot episode of our podcast as well. And I found out that you ended up going home with Kyle and had an eventful end to your evening. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate time at the end, I guess. You get to the party, and I had watched the Georgia-Florida game with your host mom Paul at Coach's Corner.
Yeah.
And had a good time. Zach Bro was also in attendance. We go home, we change into our costumes and show up and everything. And, there's some witch's brew punch that has been made. And I think I didn't really realize at the time how pungent this punch was, But then watching Becca refill the punch, I should have had a better idea of what was going on. I also dove into a Tropicalia or two. I just couldn't resist Athens' finest. Especially after a Georgia win. I mean, huge win over the Gators. And then
go Dogs.
We played 2 games of Chandelier. And
one of my favorites.
The first game went swimmingly. I mean, I was just sinking every shot, first try, moving the cups wherever I wanted to. Just suffered absolutely no consequences. And then in the second game, I paid for it. I mean, karma was very much real. I couldn't sink a single shot. Everybody was stacking on me, and then I got left with the last cup.
Oh, and it was a death cup as per tradition?
Yep, death cup. You never know what's in that thing. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I went after it. I wanted everybody to know, I'm here. I'm willing to drink this. I accept the penalty of losing. And as I was drinking it, it just started spilling all over my shirt and everything.
Oh, you're not a quitter. You're not a quitter.
But I'm not a quitter. That's the thing.
Right.
I'm not a quitter. But
no. And you're cool, and you're a fun time, and you can prove that you can persevere through anything that life throws your way.
Yeah, but I don't think everybody was amused at the fact that the drink was also just going all over the floor.
Well, that comes with the territory. I mean, you gave it your best effort, right? You weren't dumping it out on purpose.
And what happens after, you drink the cup and everything is all of a sudden, the next thing you know, Cowboy Kyle Lewigs is coming up to you and saying, "Come on, man, let's get in the car and go home." And I'm like, okay, that sounds awesome. And, I'm telling everybody goodbye, and things are definitely a haze, in a sense. And what do you know? I get in the car with Kyle and them and leave to head back. Kyle takes me up into their place, and, then he's just, he's talking me through some things and making sure I'm drinking some water.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, and I talked to Kyle. It didn't end too prettily, but you survived the night. Did you sleep on the bathroom floor, as you have been known to do?
No, and I'll have it on the record, by the way, that the times that I have slept on a bathroom floor were because it was hot outside, and it's because I've been at Paula Berman's. We've been hanging out by the pool. It's still hot, even though it's like 2 a.m. I get in the bathroom to use it, and then I feel the tile on my feet. Because I'm usually, bare feet at this point, and the tile feels so cool. And I just have this split second where I'm like, I'm going to take a 5-minute nap and then go and join everybody back outside, and I never get back up.
It's a rookie mistake. That's how I missed my first flight in my life after Patrick Briordi and Tori's wedding this past fall and it was son of a gun with Cowboy Kyle Lewigs. I was over at his previous abode and decided when I had to get an Uber to the airport in about a half an hour, I would take a 20-minute cat nap. I couldn't keep the eyes open, and it was a wedding, so I'd been properly lubricated naturally, as like you did. I'm a party fella. I'm a good time. You want me at your celebrations, and I'm going to prove that. And yeah, I missed my about 7 a.m. flight or whatever, and then had to take one at 9 p.m. So, I talked to Kyle. He was very happy. So it turns out that Kara was the one who noticed how much it had gotten to you. Kyle had no idea that you were, as the kids say, sauced. And Kara said, "Hey, looking at Josh, we should probably just take him home. He might need to be taken care of." And Kyle said, "Yeah, sure." And he went up to you. This would be a great time to have our first guest, but we'll have Kyle on at some point. And Kyle said, "Hey, Josh, like you want to come back and stay at our place? We got an Uber coming." And you turned to him, and there was nothing behind your eyes. He was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh my gosh, how'd this happen to Josh?" But he did say you were fine on the ride home. And then he thinks you had some really deep talks in the bathroom, but he can't recall them himself, although he thinks you guys chatted for like 3 hours.
I don't think we chatted for 3 hours. I think we chatted for like 20 minutes or something. I don't really know. And by the way, at this point I can put it on the record. I am the first person to stay in the guest bedroom of Kara Heater, and I think that's pretty awesome.
That's quite an honor. That's quite an honor. Of the condo. Yeah, that's congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I have slept there, but I slept on the floor. So, I never had access to the guest bedroom. You've gotten a whole place further in your relationship with our good friends Kara and Kyle than I have. Well, thank you for being so vulnerable on our first episode and sharing your very fun and then a little bit unfortunate ending to your Halloween celebration this past weekend.
I'm honored, in a sense, and this is what the podcast is all about. Just guys
Correct.
being dudes and whatnot. Biko, did you do anything eventful for Halloween last night?
No, not at all. I drove upstate from my apartment in Jersey City, and I slept at the farm. I was asleep by probably about 11:30. Had dinner at Casa Volarte, which, if anybody's seen Casa Bonita from the South Park episode, which I have heard is an actual place. It is actually a chain. I don't know if it's only in Colorado, but it exists. Casa Volarte, I think, is very similar to Casa Bonita. This is in Kingston, New York, but delicious. Like, it's delicious food. I mean, it's a chain restaurant, but it hits the spot. They give you unlimited bean dip and salsa and chips, and that's terrific for a guy like me. So yeah, nice dinner with Lauren and her brother Joe, who had flown in from Austin. So that was delightful. And then this past weekend, I had an intimate Halloween party at a pal's house where I was a cat. And also Michael, Lauren's younger brother, was there for about a half an hour of the party and made me also act like a cat for just about the majority of that half hour. So I was on my hands and knees and like batting around toys that he was showing me. Just a classic event with myself, Michael, and a lot of my peers. So, I met a significant other of one of my dear friends for the first time, and the first half an hour or so that he met me, I was just crawling around on the floor, batting around stuff, and basically biting Michael. Classic.
What an awesome first impression.
Correct. So yeah, that was delightful. This was probably the least I have done as far as celebration and costume in Halloween for as far back as I can remember, possibly ever. But it was relaxing. And I think so we could get back on track here a little bit. This is where we could throw in a little segment. As we prepare a little things. We think about what we want to add to our podcast. I would love to travel back in time and discuss our 5 favorite costumes that we have worn of all time. Josh, I'd like to start with you.
Okay. Am I firing through all 5, or are we alternating here?
Let's go back and forth.
Okay. I think I'm gonna put it number 5. Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite. I did that last Halloween, and I was kind of disappointed. A lot of people didn't really understand it, but overall, I thought it was a fun costume. I was walking around on a college campus in American pants all day, so it was pretty loud. I feel like a lot of people were just
like a flag. I was like, what is American pants?
Yeah, American flag pants. So one leg has the stripes and the other leg has the stars.
Right.
And overall it was a very memorable Halloween for me. It was a hit actually in my home and gardens journalism class.
Of infamy. That's a podcast for another day. Okay, terrific. I'd say for number 5 for me, I'm gonna say I was a 70s. I just said 70s, but we were workout instructors, me and my pals, in high school, which meant we're basically wearing tank tops and booty shorts. And I wore booty shorts that I had acquired from a wrestling camp up in Maine, way back when I was in like 8th or 9th grade, that one of my elder teammates purchased for me under the guise that I would wear them back to, we were camping out to the camp out. And the reason why I was so silly that I would do that is because they were pink and insanely short, like very revealing, and on the back it just said "got ass." So I wore that to school and tried to just drape the tank top over them anytime like a teacher may have been looking at me, because that would get me dress coded. And I was able to survive an entire day at school in that outfit. So yeah, that's probably number 5 for me. I would love to bring Chad Reese in here. Let's get our coordinating producer, Chad. You weren't prepared for this, but on the spot, can you give us your 5th favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn?
I think when I was younger, can't remember exactly the age. I was really into The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker on the GameCube, and I dressed as Link, the main character. And
Yeah.
it was the only time I think that I've made a fully like handmade Halloween costume. My mom and I sewed up like the hat and the tunic, and my dad made a sword and a shield out of wood. And I love that thing. I thought it was awesome. And I think that I, for a short period of time afterwards, refused to take it off. I think I wore it constantly, as much as I could. So I love that one.
It's cool that you did that. I mean, anybody your age would have said that was pretty badass that you were wearing that costume all the time, whether it was Halloween or not. Come on now. Okay, I don't know what we missed and what we have, but that's okay. Josh, give us another costume.
I'm gonna go with a little recall to my childhood as well. My parents really enjoyed dressing me up as Charlie Brown multiple years as a youngin', and I think it was because they liked seeing me wear the silly striped shirt and then go up to the houses and say, "I got a rock."
Yeah, that's funny. I like that. That's good stuff. I'll go back to my childhood for I think about 3 straight years, from like 5 to 7 years old or so. I was a knight. Like I had a knight costume and I really wanted to be a knight. It was not any knight in particular. It was just your classic medieval, knight. So anyway, that's what I've got. Chad, do you have another one for us?
I think I went as a Power Ranger probably 4 years in a row. The red Power Ranger specifically.
The red one?
Oh yeah, the red one.
Why the red one?
Red's the best color, dude. What do you mean?
I'm a blue guy, but that's okay. It's a debate for another podcast. All right, Josh.
T-Rex, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
He was T-Rex. That's it.
Let's see. Number 3, I'm going to go with Beetlejuice. I did Beetlejuice, the classic 80s movie character one time.
Full makeup and everything?
I did not dye my hair for it. That's something I have never done. I've never dyed my hair. I don't really think I ever want to dye my hair. But, I put on a little makeup, and I actually bought, a suit and pants, essentially, from Goodwill, and then kind of hacked it up to my liking to make it look like a Beetlejuice suit.
that's pretty wise. I like that a lot. Okay, I think number 3 for me will be Morty from Rick and Morty. Me and my college roommate Kurt Jorgensen, my 3rd and final year at Syracuse, were Rick and Morty, and ran into another Rick and Morty out on the campus. So that was a delightful cosplay moment for us. Chad.
Let's see. Last year, Kate and I, my girlfriend, were twin robots from the show Neon Genesis Evangelion. I was Evangelion Unit 0, and I was Evangelion Unit 1. She was Unit 2. I was a big purple robot, and she was a big red robot. And that was awesome, because in the show, they're piloted by people. They're giant robots. They need a pilot. We were walking around downtown one night, and we ran into 2 people dressed as the characters that pilot the robots. So that was a great moment. And
that's wild.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Did you let them hop on your backs and pilot you around the town?
Kate's 4'9", so she didn't, but I did.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, Josh.
Yeah, let's see. Number 2, I'm gonna do Barnacle Boy. I did Barnacle Boy for Halloween one time. Did it on a sorority date night with somebody. And what's really crazy is this never happened in the TV show, mind you. Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man might have kissed a time or two, and yeah, I don't know how I feel about that in retrospect, but
how'd you feel about it?
It was a great costume.
How'd you feel about it in the moment? I mean, obviously you were doing it, so the kissing. I mean,
Yeah.
you were. That's what you were doing.
Yeah. No, it was a good costume. We were very popular amongst all the people at the event, and we just wanted to, I guess, remember that.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, there's so much more I've got, but it might be for another day. Okay, terrific. I really appreciate that one. Number 2 for me, I think is going to be. Oh, it's tough between my top 2. I think I'm gonna go Macho Man Randy Savage, another Kurt and Biko combo costume. He was Hulk Hogan. That was our freshman year at Cuse, and that was quite a riot. I really enjoyed being Macho Man Randy Savage. Chad, what do you got, buddy?
The cream will rise to the top. A staple of my mom's ability to make Halloween costumes was, for some reason, the easiest answer that she saw was to paint some black eyeshadow on one of our eyes and then a big letter P on our shirt. So I was a black-eyed P.
That's
That
funny.
one was a repeat so many times when we had no idea what else to be.
That's good stuff. Yeah, there it is. You're on fire, man. All right, we have come to our final round. Your favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn, Josh Talevski.
Yeah, the cream of the crop is going to be Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Big fan of the movie. I think Christian Bale is phenomenal. I did go as Patrick Bateman again this year. Second time I've done the costume. And,
Okay.
And both times it's been very popular with the people. It's kind of elaborate. You dress up relatively nice. You put on like a rain poncho to be the raincoat. You can like makeshift an axe if you want. You can carry around a couple CDs and do the whole "you like Huey Lewis in the news" bit. It's a great costume. I feel like I have a fun time with it.
Right, and part of how you were hired by the Bananas in the first place is you turned that very scene into just trying to take your pal to a banana ball game. It was genius.
Yep, that is also probably a story for another podcast, tell you the truth.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so my top one I'm going to say was Dionysus. That was back in Jamaica, Queens, probably about 5 years ago or so. It was just a sheet and some grapes, really. And by the end of the night, I or other people had eaten all the grapes off of my head. But it was a riot. And it was, I think my friend Lauren Ball was Medusa, and gosh, my fiance Lauren, a girlfriend at the time, couldn't tell you what she was, but that's who knows. Well, it was something Greek mythology related. Chad, your favorite Halloween costume all time?
Well, mythology related as well, Biko. A little context. My sophomore year of college, my dad really urged me to grow out some facial hair. Never done it. Like, just see what it looks like. I was like, okay.
Sure.
And I basically could just grow like the worst like goatee. Didn't look great. But also growing out my hair at the time, I've got some long brown hair, and so I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna be Jesus Christ. So I got a crown of thorns. I got a nice robe with like the red sash. I didn't stigmatize myself, but that would be a little too much. But I did make sure to ride my skateboard all around campus and just give out as many blessings as I could. I had a math test that day, and I do think that is really what pushed me over the top to get an A on that. So that was a really good one.
That's tremendous. It's really good stuff right there. I like the riding around on the skateboard as well. I saw a really good Jesus costume online on Twitter recently, where he was like, I think he had turned his hoverboard into like a cloud and was actually legitimately going around town with a loaf of bread and handing it out to people. So I like that as well. I think my favorite I saw online was the Randy Johnson and the bird. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's
what a
incredible.
classic. Yeah, that one was phenomenal.
Such a good Randy, too. Like, that guy was meant to be Randy Johnson. It just found the perfect combo for him. Yes, that's great stuff. Oh, I feel like we are probably about the time when we should shut this podcast down. We also have other things we have to do with our lives. We did also want to do a Halloween candy draft. Coordinating producer Chad Reese, do we have the time to do a Halloween candy draft?
We're about 55 minutes in right now, so that's up to you guys.
Oh,
Oh,
all right.
oh.
Lightning round?
Yeah, lightning round.
Okay, sweet. Who wants to go first? I'm going to take Reese's.
All right,
Well, okay, hold on. This puts me in an unfair advantage because I have a peanut allergy.
That was a poorly timed cricket sound.
Yeah, well, I jumped the gun. I should know that the sound guys. We're gonna find our stride eventually, but this is the first time we've created this podcast. So yeah,
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, I've got Reese's. We'll go Serpentine since this is a draft. We'll go top 4. I think that bounces it to Chad next.
Is this Halloween? Is this candy that you get while you're trick or treating?
I
Or
just
is this candy in general?
If you've never gotten this candy trick-or-treating, I don't think it's legal. But if you've ever gotten it trick-or-treating, then it counts as Halloween candy.
That's fair.
I will go Sour Patch Kids watermelon.
Watermelon's nice.
I think I'm gonna take classic Twix bar.
Okay, and you've got another one. Snaking back to you.
Yeah, I'll also double down and take a Butterfinger bar.
Ooh, nice. Chad.
I'll take a classic Hershey's bar.
Oh, just some straight up chocolate.
Yep.
Yep, that's fair enough. I'm gonna go Snickers. I'm a huge Snickers guy, and I'd like some Nerds too. Those things taste so good. Crunch them up, just straight sugar, right? And right, I'm not a huge sugar guy, but for some reason, that kind of sugar straight to my taste buds, absolutely rocks. Back to Chad.
Same realm, Fun Dip.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Literally.
Let me see. I've got to double down on my picks here, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Last 2, buddy.
I think I will take some Skittles.
Yeah.
And then I think for my last pick, and this one is going to be a little out there, kind of similar to Chad's, but I'm going to do the Hershey's Cookies and Cream bar. Those are delicious.
Okay.
I do really like the cookies and cream bar. My favorite candy of all time growing up was Smarties.
Smarties, it's good stuff. That's good stuff right there. Okay, I am going to close it down with another contentious pick. Many people hate it. I absolutely love it. Give me Almond Joy.
Wow. Yeah, I actually like an Almond Joy as well.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. So that gives us, gosh. Chad, what was your second or third pick? I've got Fun Dip, and I'm missing one for you.
I said Sour Patch Kids watermelons, classic Hershey's bar, Fun Dip.
That's what I was missing. Okay, so the final tally. Biko got Reese's, Snickers, Nerds, Almond Joy. Chad, Sour Patch Kid watermelons. Hershey's, straight up the Ridge, Fun Dip, and Smarties. And Josh, at the back end of the draft, got Twix, Butterfingers, Skittles, and the Hershey's Cookies and Cream.
And we totally skipped over the Kit Kat bar, which also feels like a big swing and a miss. We've all just had the same reaction.
Wow.
Head back in the chair, looking up at the ceiling in disappointment. There it is.
That's a huge miss. All right. Well, honorable mention for Kit Kat. Okay, sweet. So I think what we're going to do with this podcast, I think we'll do it once a week, and we'll see how that goes. We're going to be posting it to YouTube, so you may have been watching us this entire time, or you were listening. Either way, thank you so much for doing so. And I think we'll release every Thursday, because that can give us a fresh episode of Bananaland. Although when I say that, we also haven't watched the episode of Bananaland that will be released tonight, right? We're still doing scheduled releases of those, or is it literally out as I'm speaking?
No, I believe it is still a scheduled release. It'll go live at 8 p.m. tonight.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. We'll figure out how we want to tackle Bananaland. Maybe we're just always talking about last week's episode, and the timeline doesn't quite make sense to me. But we'll figure it out one way or another.
My people will talk with your people, okay?
Yeah. Could not agree more. Chad Reese, real quick, I can't believe I wanted to ask you this question. I forgot before we shut it down. What did you do for Halloween? Did you have a delightful, spooky season?
Hold on. I had to get my mic unmuted. I had a great Halloween season. Favorite time of year. Watched tons of horror movies. Ate tons of candy. Had an absolute blast. Couldn't have asked for a better year.
Ah, delightful. Okay, so I think the future of this podcast has some guests from time to time. We'll discuss what kind of music we're listening to, maybe some television, some movies, classic world events. We'll solve a lot of the issues that plague this earth and in this tumultuous time that we currently live in. It's pretty much going to be an X, Y, and Z type affair. I think this was a pretty good example of what you'll get from the Rain Delay podcast. You guys agree, disagree? Have any other additions, things that you think we should cover here?
I'm feeling pretty strong about this. I think the critical acclaim will be something like this.
Yeah, it's a very moderate golf clap right there, and I'd be happy if we had that many people clapping after our first episode. Also, something to note: we do plan to record this live on one social media or another in the future, possibly TikTok, possibly YouTube. We'll kind of figure that out when we figure it out. So that will be an opportunity. And how should people reach us if they want us to talk about something on the podcast? I mean, I'm Biko Rico Suave on Twitter. You can try and DM me there. You can email any of us at our names and then at the Savannah Bananas. You can find our contact information at thesavannahbananas.com. Maybe we create an email for the Rain Delay podcast where people can send in podcast related questions in particular. And then if we're going live, we can actually address comments that are being dropped in whatever medium we are currently going live on as well.
Yeah, email address feels particularly strong, but I'm not opposed to a good Twitter DM every now and then. I mean, X. My bad.
Yeah. Shame on you. Yeah, let us know what kind of guests you would want on. I mean, there's all kinds of things. The ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan has been known to say. And then we have to figure out how to close down the podcast. Like Pardon My Take has the remixes of Take On Me. Bill Simmons plays some Pearl Jam. What's the best way for us to conclude? Maybe we should, and this is a future idea, and it's come to me in the moment. Maybe we should rehearse and then perform a musical number, an original, between us. Then obviously we're virtual right now. I'm in Saugerties, New York. My partners are in Savannah, Georgia. So that will get a lot better when we're back in person, and it will be very interesting trying it virtually. It's just top of the brain. Any ideas you guys have?
Yeah, a good original song by us could always be fun. I don't imagine how we'd be able to do it other than a cappella,
right?
Unless we know some musically inclined folks instrumentally. Otherwise, my pitch just for this episode, because it's November 1st, Green Day has had to go back to sleep. We woke them up when September ended, and now they must go back into their 11-month hibernation. Maybe we'll close it down with a little Green Day of some sort, a little Good Riddance.
Oh, wow. Do we sing Good Riddance? Do you know the lyrics to Good Riddance?
Oh, I know like the first lyric, but I don't know too much after that.
We could look it up. Do you envision us playing this? Like, is this a Chad in post does it, or do we perform this?
Up to you guys.
I feel like we should probably perform it, Like, the easy thing to say would be we let our good friends at Green Day play us out, but the Bananas way, thinking differently, would be if we just did an impromptu Good Riddance right here, right now. By the way, real quick, it is now officially November, my birth month. Shout out Scorpios. Josh, you had to shave your mustache for charity. We talked about if you're bringing it back, maybe it'd be a Movember thing. What are you thinking about that right now?
I'm feeling pretty gung-ho about Movember. I've got to be honest. I shaved right before Halloween to be Patrick Bateman, and I'm feeling like I'm not gonna shave. It's Movember.
All right, sweet. So that'll be fun to track through these videos as well. Okay, you guys ready to perform Good Riddance?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna not say the first word because obviously it starts with like a little guitaring and then an expletive and then some more guitaring. We'll just start with another turning point.
Yeah, you want me to do like the little
Yes, please.
All right, now we come in.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
Time
grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind. Hang it on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth it all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. Yeah, it's really hard to instrumental a violin. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
All right, they go through it again, but you know that's.
We'll fix that in post too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think that's a great way to close down a podcast.
We did great. Congratulations, guys.
Congrats.
It's only up from here.
Oh, you're telling me. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. Oh, you could probably do a see you later. That does it. That also works, right? Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later on 3. 1, 2, 3.
See you later! Inaugural podcast.